Looking for a gift for a loved one, a custom keepsake, or something unique to commemorate a special occasion? Then look no further. KKG Creations is the one-stop shop for bringing your ideas to life. KKG Creations specializes in custom handmade products such as t-shirts, tumblers, and other drinkware, and cigar accessories. Want to add a little pep to your step? KKG Creations even blings shoes. Mr. Cheryl Lamar hand makes every item with care, so you know you'll have a unique piece of the highest quality. Get started on your order today. Email KKG Creations at kkgcreations, that's creations with a K and a Z, at gmail.com. That's kkgcreations@gmail.com. Or stop in and see their smiling faces at 37 Beatty Street, Suite 109 in Hiram, Georgia. KKG Creations. Let us breathe some life into your vision.
Dope Discussions Podcast. Dope Discussions, Gator era co-op discussions. Mob ties, how they rock and think they both was cousins. Gifting you with their words so you might know you something. Just go and look for them live, they do it every Sunday. Every Sunday.
And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. It's Gator Beater, baby. Make state to state, baby, coast to coast. Like the fire, baby, spark to joke. And we gon' bring you that dope. Come talk with Erica, man, talk with G. And all you gotta do is talk with me. And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. And we gon' give you that dope. And we gon' bring you that dope. Yeah. Let's do a remix. It's time to do a remix.
You gonna do a remix? You gonna perform it live?
Yeah. Me and DJ gonna get on that because I've been having a few little ideas popping in my head for it. Yeah, we're gonna do a little remix of that thing. We're gonna really smooth it out this time.
Y'all gonna put me in on the vocals?
We may have to. Now that might work. No, we might do it like old school Jodeci. You remember how they used to have a slow jam, then they'll come back in the remix with the leather vest? You know what I'm saying? We have to do that.
Yes. Well, welcome back, everybody, to another Dope Discussion Sunday. We are excited to be in the house. How are you, Gator?
I am doing pretty good, fantastically well, as a matter of fact. Actually, welcome to everyone in the virtual congregation. Thank you for coming out. It's been pretty good. Been working, of course, but, I'm telling y'all, I will eventually get rid of some of these jobs. I'm going to do it, I promise.
You say that every week.
I know. And I see John say he's gonna challenge me to a freestyle battle. Oh man, hold up, I gotta get my Papa Lock ready for that.
Yes, I am excited about today's topic and our special guest. We are welcoming back the gentleman from the Real Shop Talk, and we also have Miss Queen Cole from Like the Path podcast in the house, and she's not a stranger to our show as well.
Exactly. This is they're like family now, and it's great that we have family here so we can talk about this important topic, because this is kind of like a part two of a topic that originally was over there on Shop Talk. Y'all need to go check that out. But this one is gonna definitely be a dope discussion as well.
Yes. So part one of this discussion, I already pinned the link to that video in the comments. So you see that pinned comment, you can click that link and you can watch part one of this discussion on the Real Shop Talk YouTube channel. So if you find some value in tonight's discussion, you're definitely going to want to go ahead and watch part one. as well. Everybody who's probably tuning in has probably already watched part 1, and that's why they are here to get the second helping of this very important topic from some amazing people who have perspectives, who have experience, who have insight, and who have, empathy, towards what we're talking about tonight. So I'm excited to go ahead and bring them out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get that started. So first off, we are going to get Mr. John Singletary. Hey, how you doing?
There we go. I'm off mute. There we go. How y'all feeling?
Hey, John, you are not a stranger now. You are family. Say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? I am elephant elated, hippopotamus happy, and giraffe glad to be here.
Horse.
Yes, all the animals in the zoo. He brought them all. All right, next up, we got Mr. Gunter Man in the house.
What up? Hey, guys, what's going on? This is Gunter Man. I'm ready for tonight. You know me. Come on, Gator. You already know we ready for tonight.
I already know. That energy.
Put on that seatbelt. We're doing it. We going for a ride tonight. I'm taking y'all back on my little journey, boy. Let me tell you.
Yes. I love it. And next up, we got Mr. Tony Massey in the house. Hey, Tony.
What it do? Back in the spot. I'm so excited.
Yo, you gotta announce him right. You gotta announce him right. The man with the best Hennessy wings in the state of Georgia.
There it is. You better tell him, bro.
Awesome. Yes. Welcome back. Next, we have Mr. Tony A. Watts.
Boom.
Pew, 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 pew. I'm always excited to get this group of men back together. Yes. Next up, Mr. Relationship Gumbo.
Hey. Happy to be here. That's all I got to say. Happy to be back. Good morning, my neighbors. So we about to get it in. So let's go.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Right.
What you say, Tony?
I said I love the background. He got that Purple Rain thing going on.
Yes, I love it.
Y'all have to credit Tony Massey for half of it, though. We'll talk about that later.
I know we was dressing up like you look all suited and booted, whatnot. What happened?
And last but definitely not least, Miss Queen Cole in the house. Come on, Queen.
Yeah. Hey.
Welcome back. I'm excited to get dive deep into this topic. I already got some notes written down, some questions. I don't know if y'all came prepared like me, but I'm ready.
Yes, let's do this.
We got the notes, we got ready. So I know we're the hosts, me and Gator are the hosts, but this originally started on the Real Shop Talk. So if anybody wants to kick it off, anybody wants to be continued from what we left off last time, you are welcome to join in and kick it off. Nobody? Okay,
I will.
He said, look, I'll do it.
I'm always ready to jump in on the deep side of the pool. So what I would like to start with is, we didn't talk about it last time. I wanted to bring it up, is that marital, when you're married and you say no, or you feel like you cannot say no, that is also part of the rape culture, because when I was a young bride, I was a young wife at 18 years old. One of the seasoned saints, I would say, let me know in a gentle way, never say no to your man.
That ain't even good.
Never say no to your man. So, I took that and I ran with that. I never said no to my husband, even when I was tired or not feeling in the mood. I never said no. I would do something to take a shower, rejuvenate myself so that way I can get prepared. But I think that's something we need to talk about, especially when women are getting married, it's okay also to say no to your husband if you're not in a sexual mood. So I would like to hear the guys, especially guys that are married, like, how do you address that with your wife?
So we got Mr. Relationship Gumbo and we got Tony. Both of them are married.
I was trying to let Tony go since he.
No, go ahead. I
don't know. This is weird for me because I don't think I grew up in a household that operated like that, and I don't operate that way. But you do hear it. And a lot of times, they'll say, well, this is what the Bible tells you to do, or this is what, how it's supposed to be. But this is weird. Like I said, this is weird for me because it doesn't even register on my radar because I never look at my wife in that way. And when I think about what she contributes to the household, what she contributes to the marriage, I could never just be the dictator knowing what she brings to the table. But I think I hate that. I shouldn't. Let me retract to the table. What she brings to I don't even want to get into that combo. What she brings to every, like, it would almost kind of belittle her value to me. And I think when people say that, and it's almost kind of like you're almost guilted into having to do that. And then when you show up, it's almost like you kind of have to, if you do this, you have to mute who you are down just to be able to do that. And there's probably a lot of men out here that would love that, but then it's like you looking in the mirror and it's like, who am I as a woman? Like, what am I doing? So I'm gonna land there.
So there's two things that I want to talk about as it relates to this, because this is a very important topic in my opinion. The first is let's talk about the biblical aspect of it. Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians, I think it was 7:5, if I'm not mistaken. Tony Watch, you gonna have to check me on that one. What he says, do not. Huh?
You got the right verse.
Okay, so he says, do not deprive one another. And as an English major, I'm very, I look at word usage, and I understand that the Bible has been translated many times, and I know this is not a Bible course or a Bible podcast, but his word deprive to me was very specific, because to deprive someone of something and to refuse someone of something is two very different things. Deprivation means you don't ever have access. To say no, or to say not right now, or to say I'm not in the mood is a very different thing. So if you're in a relationship where there's deprivation, there is no access, you are being completely deprived of the opportunity to come together in an intimate way that only husband and wife should be able to do with one another, then that's a problem. But to have the ability to say no, that's something very different in my opinion. The other thing is, and I'm a real big, I say this all the time. If you follow me or if you've ever heard me speak, you've heard me talk about men maturing. Mm-hmm. Maturing to a point where you understand that sexuality is not something that you do only. It's something that you have to exude. It's something that you have to, the foreplay doesn't begin in the bedroom. The foreplay begins in the morning when you wake your wife a cup of coffee, when you text her to say, hey, baby, I was just thinking about you. When when you're doing things that are putting her in a mood that makes her feel the desire to express her emotional feelings in a physical way. That's what sex is, in my opinion. But if you are depriving her of the emotional attachment to you because you're not giving her, you're not meeting those emotional needs, and then when unmitigated gall, you come in and say, I want you to meet my physical needs because you're my wife and you are required to do so because you're the only woman that I can sleep with. Mm-hmm. That's selfishness. And it's also immaturity, because you think that love, sex, all of this stuff is a one-way street. And this is why I get so frustrated when we have conversations about, what men can do and what women can do. the expression between my wife and I is a mutual expression. And there are times where she's like, not right now. And that's okay with me, because here's the thing that I've learned. I have matured to a point that I can make love to my wife, clothes on, sitting on the couch, watching a movie, reading a book, listening to a podcast, whatever, where we're having moments of intimacy. I am literally showing her parts of me, and she is showing parts of her to me that no one else has access to. You think you know my wife, and you may have known her for years, longer than I have. You think you know my wife, but what you don't know is there are parts of my wife that I see, not with the physical eye, but with the emotional and the spiritual eye, that you will never see. Things about her that you will never know. That is intimacy. And if you have not, as a husband, matured to a point where you know how to make love to your wife without taking off your clothes, then I have 2 words for you, brother. Grow up. I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah, man, that's so true. I tell you.
Mic drop. Sip the tea, water. Let me get my.
Maybe to another topic since it's been hit out the park. I just want to do one thing. What we neglect to do is 1 Corinthians 7:4, right? And that reads, the husband should not deprive his wife of his body, and she should not deprive her husband of her body. Then number 5 says, do not deprive yourselves of sexual relations unless you agree upon it for prayer, for fasting, and such. Like Tony broke it down perfectly. I just needed to put verse 4 in there, because what we seem to do lately is we cherry pick the verse that we want, and we leave the rest of it all out. So if you read verse 4, it's something for the husband and the wife, not to deny themselves. So thank you, Tony, for such an excellent breakdown. You destroyed it. Out the park. Let's go.
Yes.
And just to be clear, we have ascended to a point in our social maturity that a husband can rape his wife. No means no. It doesn't matter who you're saying it to. And I don't want to go back to a place where that was not, because there was a time in our, even in the legal sense, where legally a husband could not rape his wife. That was not a thing. It was not recognized as rape because of the nature of the relationship. We don't need to go backwards.
Nope.
Yes, awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and this is directed at you fellas. I wanted to ask you all, do you think that young boys and young men are also victims of the rape culture, in the sense that the way that they're raised, that when they grow up and they become a perpetrator of rape, in their mind, they don't think they've done anything wrong until, they're faced with an accusation or they're faced with legal ramifications, and that's when it snaps. But they're a product of the way that they were raised in the system and the culture that they were raised in. Do you think that they are also victims?
Oh, absolutely. If the society is telling you, better yet, somebody said, I think it was last week, someone said, if she's having sex, if she's holding back while I'm trying to have sex with her, she's playing hard to get. That's a twisted mentality. Because playing hard to get means I tried to call you 2 hours ago and you didn't pick up the phone. Or you kind of play coy with me about us going on a date. That's kind of playing hard to get. When you're engaged in sexual activity and somebody's saying no, that's not a signal for playing hard to get. All right? Especially if it's your first time doing it. And if it's not your first time doing it, if it's your 10th time, you should know her well enough when she means stop. So we need to find that, and we need to teach men that, and especially from young boys, when a woman says no, unless she comes all the way back around and say, hey, I was playing, I want you, you stop. No matter how ready you are, no matter how ready you are to explode, go to the bathroom, take care of yourself. But you have to stop. because consent stops there.
Love it. Anybody want to add anything
I'm
to
gonna
that?
jump in real quick about this. And I think, you know, we're in 2021 now, but I think for a lot of our history, men a lot of times are kind of groomed, told, socialized, or whatever that, you know, once you are out there and you're dating, you're meeting, you're having sex or whatever, there's a certain point where this is owed to you, right? You still have these dudes out here now, right? Even when they taking somebody out to dinner, you owe me, right? And if you owe me, you don't have the right to tell me as the man, no, that's not your place. I spent this money, you owe me. You made it to the bedroom and you got the lingerie on, you owe me. How dare you say no? That's that ego, that's that whatever, I don't know, you know, could come from childhood, could come from whatever. Your boys made you feel this way for the past 10 years. I don't know. But it's something about watching a woman in distress. She's not smiling and she's telling you no, and you see that and you keep going. That's the part that makes me cringe, because we all know what it looks like when someone's when they're in distress mode versus I'm just playing, keep going. There's a big difference. And like I said, I think there's a part of a lot of men that feel like this is owed to me. And I don't have an explanation for it, but it's cringeworthy, and it happens a lot, even to this day. Even we were talking about, I don't know if we talked about on the last show or another show about just how, you know, these big events, like it used to be like Freak Nick and all of this, you owe me. You owe me. How dare you walk away and not talk to me? The audacity, right? But we've grown up in this culture where, at least as far as I know, back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, nobody said anything. We've had friends, family members, people we've heard about that have, we on the grown shoulder, ran trains. Oh, she was drunk. 5 dudes. That person would go brag, these guys would go brag about it to another 50 dudes and no one batted an eye. Right? And so I don't even know if I have a point or not right now, but because it's coming from a place like I remember hearing these things when I was 18, 20, and it was something that people laughed about. So I'm gonna land there.
I recognize that there's a culture where men are actually bullied, called gay, called a simp. You know, you're not accepted into the man club if you're speaking on behalf of women, or if you're calling other men out for disrespecting women or making women feel uncomfortable. And I see a lot of men fold under that pressure. They don't want to be singled out. They don't want to be ostracized from the man club. And so even if they don't agree with it and they feel bad about it, they stay silent, or they laugh, or they participate unwillingly, you know, to not be called out these names. And that's something that I feel like a lot of men have to just, I don't know if it's just low self-esteem, you know, having no other male role models in their life to speak against it. What do you guys think that is?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. The last part, the concept of no one is going to really speak against it. You know, growing up, I grew up an entertainer. For you guys know, I grew up an entertainer. I'm in behind the scenes of so many different concerts from young. I was on tour from 11th grade. I'm already on tour, and you're not combated with enough. You know, you need to stop. You need to not go that route. See, these cultural norms that tell young boys, us men, to go out there and get all that you can get. what's that saying? Soil your royal oats. Those sayings, soil your royal oats. That mindset is told to us from a young age. Now, who tells it? It's not adults that's telling it. It has to be other kids telling us this thing. So it's the mindset. It's not like you're looking at social media, not back then, not in the 90s. Wasn't hearing about no social media. No, so it had to be verbal, oral conversations being passed around down to down, that you're out there ripping and running. And that phrase is accurate because you're literally ripping and running through as many people as possible, but you don't see the damage that you're doing to yourself. You don't see it. You don't see that when it's really going to matter to you to love someone correctly. You have no foundation to stand on. You have no I need to work through and make this situation better foundation. I got married without ever having a real concrete girlfriend that I wanted to work through situations. I worked through situations where we got back to feeling good. No, things weren't working good. You just kind of moved on to the next one. Things wasn't working good. You moved on to the next one. You have a whole bunch. I had a whole bunch of 3 weeks, 3-month relationships. Come on, 3 weeks, 3 months situation, and very few one-night stands. But the concept was that you're just steady on the go, because this is what the cultural norm was. You talk about Freaknik, you talk about Virginia Beach, Miami, you're talking Philly. All those fests that you used to go to and go hang out, all of them was set up. All of them was set up to go out there and just be ravenous. Now me, I'm a gentle soul. So I'm all about having fun. So I'm not even thinking about trying to get a girl drunk to get into her pants. I'm not even trying to get to her, let's get it running. No, I'm gentle. I'm a gentle soul. So I'm all about having fun. But even in the midst of having fun with my gentle soul, I was next, like crazy, because it was just the cultural norm. But you're not seeing the damage. You're not seeing the damage that you're doing. These young men, you have no clue of the damage, because when it's going to matter to you most, you're going to find out that you don't know how to do it. And it's going to kill you that you messed up the good thing. You messed up the good thing because you have developed no type of foundation on how to share and to speak and to care about what the other person thinks long enough that you're going to work through situations, or you're going to start making adjustments in your mannerisms to make sure that it's more pleasing to the other person. We don't realize that love is not something that you simply do for yourself. Love is what you do for someone else. How you share your thoughts, your concerns, your passions, your likes, your dislikes, and even your longings. It's supposed to be in a way that the other person can receive it. The other person can understand it. You're not sharing it the way you think it's good. Like, that whole concept of, I'm just going to keep it real. As the women say, I'm just keeping it real. Nah. We're talking about being able to be truthful with your feelings in a way that the other person can understand them and then hopefully do something with it. But when you're ripping and running, you're developing no foundation. You're developing no long lasting, how can I really do a relationship? In actuality, you develop none of that stuff. So you develop this mindset that if you have sex, things are okay. Huh? You think sex is just going to make everything in a relationship okay? Or that is what a relationship is? You go out to movies, you go out to dinner, and it's all about having sex. You go this place and that place, it's all about having sex. So when you come to talk about what's no? Isn't this what a relationship is? Because you don't know anything about all the other stuff. The being able to sit on the TV like Tony Massey and his wife and just feel like you're making love. As I share with my clientele, making love all day long. Making love all day long is from sending texts to messages to listening to the things that were said to you earlier in the week and being able to respond in some way, shape, or form to let you know that I hear you. I see you, and I'm here. And I'm here.
And as beautiful as that is, bro, it's a once with people who, I'm gonna use the term this way. I'm not going to use the name rape. The people who take it are not thinking about anybody else. They're just thinking about themselves. So what you so eloquently explained was amazing. And because you take it so long for yourself, and because it's about you, you then do have that disconnect that it's about the other person, and you cannot connect because it's been about you for so long. I did and getting ready for this podcast, I spoke to several women behind the scenes, and they were intimately open with me on some of these topics. And I just had to shake my head. I was like, only 2 women out of all the women I spoke to said it's never happened to them. And I spoke to a lot of women. And the scenarios that they gave me, and I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, no, like the scenario I talked about last week. The young lady that was having epileptic fits, she was having seizures. And she had a new boyfriend, so she woke up, all her clothes was on, and she turned to her boyfriend, touching the clothes, and said, "Oh, my clothes are on." And he's like, "Yeah, what are you talking about?" He said, "Well, my ex-boyfriend, whenever I would do that, I would wake up naked." And he said he would do that just to make sure I was okay. And he turned around and said, "No, that's great." And those are the conversations we have to have. Because I don't know who posted it. A young lady said that she pressed charges on somebody. And I'm going to say this very cautiously, but I mean it. If we start doing that a lot more,
yes,
people will begin to understand that no means no. Because we have this mindset that, yeah, I got her drunk and, I could do whatever I want and she owes me because, we was at the restaurant and I spent over $300. You didn't do it. If you want that, go get a whore. You can go do what you want. It's a paid transaction, and however y'all work that out, y'all work that out.
Yeah, but you also got to understand this, that it feels so much like a cultural norm that the guy who's actually doing it doesn't see themselves as I'm being self-centered. This is the point I'm trying to make. You're not seeing yourself as self. You just think that this is what's done. This is just part of what's done. Now, at no point when you look at like the Greek fest and all those mad things that we used to go to, and you said get people drunk, or people are being drunk, and you're finding yourself up in bed and up and doing or running a train and all that stuff. That stuff. Hey, you're not thinking like I'm doing something evil. That's the point we're trying to get to. That's what this rape culture is. Like, we're not thinking. Like, like I said, I'm a gentle soul. So I'm not thinking I'm trying to set people up or to be mean or to be self-centered. No, I'm the dude that's still going out my way and doing X, Y, Z, and ZYX for whoever I'm with. But I'm still doing the number game. I'm still like from this one to this one to this one to this one to this one. So I am a part of that rape culture, even though my mindset's not like I'm not going out there trying to hit a bunch of chicks. I don't think I ever went to a club, and Tony could be my witness. Even when we had the Westchester talent competition, I never went to those things. Women constantly went there thinking I'm going to try to hook up with some women. I'm going to go check out this. No. Did it happen? Yes, it did. But did I go there with that intent to pursue that? Or come on, not me. Yeah. And that's honest to God.
Just to throw something in case Eric, this is in your notes, I apologize. We also must talk about porn. How young men view porn. They view porn as that's how you're supposed to have sex. So if you view porn that way, and then your friends are telling you, yes, that's the way. So when you get out in the street, what are you going to do?
Well, even before we get to porn, and this is a good lead into it, this is the problem with objectifying women. This is the problem with turning women into objects. And this is also the problem with the pronouns and the slang that we're starting to use towards women, thought, things like that. Because I always find it interesting that people want to kind of even the playing field by saying, well, what if that was your mother or your sister or your whatever? And what I don't think a lot of people understand is because we have removed the woman element from women. These guys who have these huge platforms, who are spreading all of this misogyny and sexism, and they're speaking about Black women in as if they're monolithic based on one or two things or one or two examples. What they're essentially doing is they're removing the humanity from Black women, from women, period, and creating something very different, something that is not like my mother, not like my sister, not like not like the women in my circle. These are different women. This is that hoe over there, not anyone here within my vicinity. So anything that happens to that hoe over there, that's not the same thing as you trying to give this idea that we're talking about all women. I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about those women who are very different than everyone else. But here's the reality. All of them are the same. You know what I mean? There's no difference between, and so even the idea that a woman, the other night I was on Clubhouse and this brother was just going in on the fact that the song WAP was nominated for a Grammy or something like that. And he's like, these women want us to respect them, but they're putting out music like this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bro, I'm looking at your picture. You look like you're about my age, if not older. Where were you in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 2000s, where it was cool to objectify women and make songs that were sexist and misogynistic? Now, all of a sudden, women are calling back their sexuality and monetizing something that men have been doing for decades. Now, all of a sudden, you have an issue with it? Of course you do. You know why? Because now, all of a sudden, the playing field becomes even. Now you don't want your daughter, your sister, your mother, these intimate people in your lives. You don't want them hearing that music because then they may become that hoe over there.
Yes, sir. And here's the kicker. With all the ripping and running that I did as a young guy running around, when it was time to get serious, what did I want? Someone that wasn't run through like guys like me.
Right.
Oh, let's be
somebody that was untouched. Like where's she at? We ran through them all.
All those other people that you have defiled.
Right, but y'all want us untouched, but then y'all want us to jump through fire hoops, rings, go around on the cube and everything when we never been touched.
Yeah, that's how crazy culture can be, can have your brain, your mind so twisted that now after you have felt like you have run the course and now you're getting older, you're now asking for someone that's unlike everyone else that you have been with. So you're asking for someone that's not like you. Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. I want someone that's not like me. I want to connect you can't even offer it to the person that you're trying to get. And now you saying that you demand that person be able to come. Am I saying it right? I said it. That's right. You can't offer it, but you want them to offer it to you.
Yeah, I got my graveyard of bodies, and mine and yours are not going to fit together. So I'm gonna need you to not have no graveyard of bodies.
Right. So then we enter into the pornography realm, and I'll be transparent because I'm comfortable being transparent because it's something that I've defeated. I no longer watch pornography, but I did, and I stopped watching pornography when I stopped being able to respond in the real world. Not only that, I noticed that my first introduction to porn, and I'm aging myself, but my first introduction to porn was the J.C. Penney's catalog, and then the Victoria's Secret's catalog, and then and it just got progressively whatever. But there was a time that a woman in a bra, that's all I need. I'm heading to the bathroom. I'm good, right? But then that's the thing about porn. It desensitizes you so much that at some point and again, this is, I probably shouldn't be this transparent, but you spend at least I've lost time looking for the perfect scene, just flipping through porn, looking for the perfect scene so that I could satisfy myself. And then I look at the clock and I'm late for work or I'm late for school or whatever the case may be. And it's because anything that has already been seen is no longer pleasurable. I have to see something, more, something stronger, something more. And here's the thing, it becomes more violent. It becomes more disrespectful. And there's this part of you that disconnects from the real world. I find it interesting that these men who hate women, like the young man who killed all those people in California some years back, it came out that he never talked to any girls. So he was convinced that nobody wanted to date him, and he hated seeing people in relationships, and he hated seeing people in love and all this other stuff because he had himself convinced nobody wanted him. But the reality was they couldn't find one girl that he actually went up and tried to have a conversation with because pornography had taught him that you don't have to have a conversation. All you have to do is show up to the wrong house with a pizza, or be a pool man, or whatever the case may be, and then boom, everything starts to happen, and women are there for your pleasure, and her pleasure is not a thing. It's all about you. The video ends when you finish, when you're done, right? And so I had to be delivered from that. I mean, literally to the point where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want this to be a part of my life. I don't want this to be something that I use to sleep, to wake up, to get out of bed, to do whatever. And so I had to literally divorce myself from porn. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is not easy. And for any person, man, especially out there who is struggling with this addiction, it's only going to get worse. You need accountability partners. You need to, if you got to get, help and check in somewhere or whatever the case may be, because at some point you are going to lose your ability to see women as human beings. And that is not hyperbole. That is not me going, or whatever. You get to the point where you can't even talk to women. Chris Rock had a joke a while back, and then I'll stop talking, where you got that friend who can only go to strip clubs. He can't go to a regular club. You know what I mean? He don't know how to talk to women anymore, because in his world, in his mind, they're not behaving the way he expects them to based on what he sees in the strip club and on pornography. I don't even do strip clubs anymore for the same reason, because at some point when you start to see women as people again, then it's hard to objectify them. It's hard to celebrate them in sexual situations where they don't want to be there. And someone spoke on it on the panel, this idea that I think it was Tony Watts, this idea that I can find enjoyment through your screaming, or it was Relationship Gumbo said it. Derek said it. Enjoyment through your screaming and through your discomfort and through your pushing me but there's pornography out there where that's the theme of the whole scene. She's sleeping, she says no, you know what I mean? You're pushing herself on, and then at some point she relents and says, okay, that's not real life. That's not how it works. You don't turn no's into yeses. I taught my son, if you hear the word no, you stop what you're doing immediately. It goes on and you get the hell out.
Right.
Because once no is said, anything that happens after no is non-consensual, which equals rape. Done. All stop. But she said no. But in pornography, no doesn't mean a damn thing.
Right.
And this is the disconnect.
There's also a physical side to watching a lot of pornography and masturbation. You're gonna get your body used to coming and then letting it go down. You're getting your body used to coming and simply going down. That's it. You get into that habit. What happens when your woman, your girl's like, hey, come on, you got yours, but when am I gonna get mine? And you got your body so used to coming and it dropping down afterwards that you don't have the training yet. You don't have the training yet. And though I never ventured into pornography as deep as you did, I remember when I was married and I was choosing to watch pornography over touching my own wife. That's crazy. That's deep, you know, because whatever was said, whatever was done that caused me to feel castrated and early, all that stuff led me to that decision to be that way. But then when you wanted to actually perform, you couldn't. You're only good till you come. And then after that, it's like, hey, however you get yours, nah, that ain't right. That ain't love. That ain't love. So you're doing yourself a disservice by teaching you, by training your body to respond to the hand or whatever you want to use. It's not the real thing. So when I got back out when I was single again and I started dating, I wouldn't let women touch me down there with their hand because I didn't want any type of feeling that it's like masturbation. Is this too TMI? But this is the real shop talk. This is men talking like this is how we talk. This is like, don't touch me down there. When you ready to have sex, we'll have sex. But I don't want this whole rubbing down there. Nah. Because what happened? You got to retrain your body. And if you want to last long, mental stimulation, touchy, get me there. You know, they say 20 minutes of foreplay, and then you're good to go for some period of time. But that was me. So you don't want to get into that pornography because you won't, when you get the real thing, you won't be able to perform because your body's getting used to a particular way.
Not only that, and I know I said I'd shut up, but you touched on something I think is important. Men, and I've heard this on more than one occasion when I was writing my book, when I was interviewing women, where he would rather watch pornography than be with. Here I am saying, hey, I'm down, let's do this, and he would rather watch pornography because pornography is about me. Sex with my wife is about us, and I'm so disconnected because of pornography. I don't know how to us anymore, not in an intimate way. I need something that's going to be about me. I don't need foreplay. I don't need to be nice to you. I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to cuddle with you. I don't need to even consider your needs, because as soon as I turn that video on, that is all about me. And that becomes the theme of the relationship, where men are, again, like you said, now you're unable to perform because now you have to consider that there's someone else in the room.
Yep, that's right.
John and Gator, y'all hadn't jumped in at all.
I'm just kind of look. First of all, I got a list of questions that I had right quick, and then Tony and Gunther just went through all of them topics that I had right quick, and I was like, golly, no. There is one thing that I do want to kind of go with, and we were talking about porn just now, but I kind of want to tear that one back. And I know Gunther hit on it a few times. A lot of us on this panel have been in the entertainment industry. So we see a lot of the negativity that happens behind the scenes. But what about in front of the scenes? We were talking about earlier where, some of the music and the messages that we would hear from that music kind of proliferated into the way we treated women. How do you feel that contributed to rape culture as we know it? And to be completely honest, that's still going on right now. If you listen to a lot of the artists that are going, they make it cool to be a part of that culture. How do we counteract that as well when we're talking to our kids or talking to young men that we may be mentoring?
Easy. You tell them, you teach them the difference between entertainment and real life. That is entertainment. That's not true. He's not going out shooting people. He's not going out on the corners selling drugs. Some rappers are, but most rappers aren't. And the ones that are, you see two things happen. They get shot or they ended up in jail. So with the successful ones who are pushing that narrative or being successful, they're getting married, they're having children, they're raising their children in certain school districts, in certain areas. They're keeping their kids away from you because they've given you a certain mentality that they don't want their kids around. So there's a difference between entertainment and real life. And if you have to tell the kids that, the kids have to know what the difference is between the two. This is entertainment, unfortunately, but it's entertainment.
They're selling you a product. They're selling you, it's a supply and demand. The public demands this type of content, and so we're going to give it to you. It doesn't actually mean that it came from my life, that I actually lived it. I know what you're looking for, so this is what's going to make me money. But just like movies, we can't blame a mass shooter that he watched a movie and he saw a mass shooting and then that movie made him go and do that. We can't use that as a legal defense. So we can't use the music as well. We can't say that I went out and raped a girl because Young Thug or Young Slim said it in his music and he didn't get in trouble for it. So why should I get in trouble for it? So that's how we have to explain to our children, this is a product they're selling you. It's just entertainment. It's not real life. It's a cartoon.
But if we don't tell them, they're going to take it on as real life. So one of the things I cringe about is when I see little girls and boys dancing and rapping rap lyrics that are raunchy or whatever. I get really upset because the first thing I say, and I do it to my family as well, I'll go to the kids and spell your name. What's your ABCs? And if the child can't do that, I will turn to their mother and go, you are not raising your child right. Because you're putting these things into a child, which Rick and Tony spoke about, over time will desensitize them. You are clapping your hands for them. You're telling them what they're doing is awesome, and you glorify it. Little girls gyrating, little boys thinking they can talk any way to women. You're glorifying, oh, he's so cute. He's going to be a girl killer when he get older. That is programming. We are programming them so when they get out in the street, out into the world, that they see that and go, well, this is what I'm supposed to do.
My mindset is this. I didn't grow up with any thug rap talking about hit this and hit that. We grew up with slow songs. The kids nowadays don't have slow songs like we had slow songs. So that activity was still going on with slow songs. R&B. I'm sorry. that just kind of just made hearing all the booty and all that just kind of made it more laughable. But you were still doing that to R&B. You were doing it to slow music. Like kids nowadays don't have the amount of slow music like we had. I'm talking, we had song on top of song on top of song. They don't have that nowadays. You gonna put that all to who? John Legend, Trey Songz, and who else? One more, just one more. What? That's it. That's it. We had a boatload of slow songs. So sex is always on the mind.
They're not even relevant to the culture.
Right. Now, what happens now, without the joking aside, with all the joking, it's the concept of becoming desensitized. It's just desensitized. Like instead of it being or feeling like a taboo, like the idea of put it in your mouth or lick me like a lollipop. It's just that's like it's not that disgusting anymore. Like that's what it is. It's desensitizing. And like those who kill people, they sometimes blame it on video games because you play video games so much that you don't really actually realize that if you kill someone, you're really killing someone. That's just desensitized. But to blame it all on the music, like Gator was saying, nah. I understand what you're saying, but nah, because we were doing it to slow songs. We were doing it to hot R&B. We found we'll use any excuse to rape culture.
Right.
Am I right or wrong? I mean, somebody correct me, but
no, you're completely
right. You're right. Keith Sweat. I was listening to Keith Sweat at the age of 12. You may be young, but you're ready.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking, and like I told you that I was put in situations where women took advantage of me because they wanted what they wanted. They wanted what they wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have also had a point that I wrote down, and I think is really important. It seems that rape is like one of the most difficult crimes to prove in court. And that's because our society has an unrealistic view of what a rape victim looks like. If you're not beaten up and bruised, black eyes, broken bones, if you can't physically see your injuries, we don't believe something happened to you. So you have to go out of your way and relive the thing over and over again to prove to people that something actually happened to you. Whereas the person who's being accused, all they have to say is it was consensual, or she said yes, or, that didn't happen. And the brunt of the proof is on the victim. And so how do we change that? How do we reverse that? How do we make people feel more comfortable to come out and not feel like they're going to be put on the spotlight to prove that something happened to them?
I think there's several ways to do that. I think the first way is open communication, and don't put yourselves in situations where that you might be in harm's way, even when you know somebody. All right. The women that I spoke to, and it was real odd to me that most of them felt like I shouldn't go to the house right now. I shouldn't go over there. Like something in them was telling them not to go over there because something that they didn't want to happen is going to happen. So I think that we should get in touch with who we are that way and follow that up. No, I'm not going to go. But you also have to have that conversation. I'm not coming to your house to have sex. Don't expect it. It's not on the table, right? Also, don't put yourself in a situation, and I know a lot of people are going to be mad at this, is that when you can be taken advantage of, right? A lot of times we date people that we real comfortable with, we do things with. Sometimes we just make out, right? And we go, that's all I wanted to do. And then the guy's like, what are you talking about? We got to go further. And because you know him, and this is another information I got from my conversation with them, is that they felt that because I knew him, I just had to give in. No, that's rape. One young lady told me that she went over, she had just gotten into a new relationship with a guy. She knew him for about a month. The first time she's coming over to his house, he's gonna cook or whatever. She's asking him, can I help you? He's saying no, have some wine, chill. And she woke up the next morning, panties off, drowsy, because he drugged her. And then he goes her and tells her, oh, you wanted it anyway. How did you prove that? She went to his house. She had dinner. She had drinks. He did all this stuff to her. And unless that's hard on the woman, because she knows that people are going to say, because I was there, I wanted it. Right? So, but we have to encourage women, like black men have to get behind women and say, no, that's what it was. Now let's press the charges, go to the hospital, get the rape test done, tell them the story, let them test for date rape drugs in your system, because that's the way you will get to the bottom of what's going on. This is such a hard conversation to have, because there's a lot of nuances in between that we don't know how to touch, right? It's sensitive to both sides, right? So we have to start having these real high-level adult conversations with our children. Like Tony said, he told his child when he was growing up, no means no. I told my boys the same thing. No means no. There's no let's wrestle and keep going. No. I mean, until we get there, we're gonna, this thing will continue.
Yeah. Also, like I said, it's hard because they estimate that out of every 10 rapes, 8 were with people that they know. 8 of them, 8 out of the 10 is people that raped them was people that they knew, family members, cousins. I mean, all types of stuff. People that were friendly with them. So it's hard. It's hard to like he's a family friend, and then now you have to bring it to your family, and then your family turns it back on you. Don't say anything. Keep it to yourself. No, that didn't happen. Like, how horrible is that? So you do exactly what you said. Start when they're young, letting them know, like, look, I don't care who you speak up when anything that's uncomfortable to you, you come and tell me. Anything that makes you uncomfortable, speak up about it. And then you come tell me. There are no situations that will happen to you that you can't come and talk to me about it. But we know the power of peer pressure, the power of it. Like, think about it. Think about this. Look, in high school, if you were bullied or threatened, like, why didn't you do something as simple as tell the teacher, or tell your parents, and then have your parents talk to that kid. You might have got your butt kicked the next day, but that kid would have been in trouble also, instead of you simply being threatened over and over again. Look, hey, I'm going to tell my parents, I'm going to tell the teacher, I'm going to tell my parents, and then my parents are going to make sure that they talk to your parents. And that's what my sister and her husband did with their sons. When they were bullied or whatever the situation was going on, their sons knew, no matter what it was, that they could go tell their mom and dad. Their mom and dad went to the school, because it happened on school grounds, told them about it, and then they got their parents involved. So no kid was safe around my nephews. You couldn't do anything to my nephews without it being reported, because they know anything that takes place, I got to go tell my mom. You know, you're 17, 18 years old in high school. You're going to still go tell your mom and dad? Yup. We're going to make that the norm. We're going to Queen Cole. We're going to make that the norm in my house.
Okay. Yes. I mean, and the Cole kids, even to this day, 24 and 22, I tell them, any situation you get in, just blame it on us. Say, oh yeah, my mom and dad, they're going to do this or that. Get out of the situation and then let us know what's going on, because as parents, we got to step up. We got to be responsible from some of this stuff. I like what Tony was saying about the music and everything. Like, yeah, your kid know all these songs, but are they doing well academically? Let's scale back our priorities. Let's make sure that we're protecting our children, and that when people do come to us, family members may come to you as a confidant. Let's believe them and then take action. Let's not just sweep anything under the rug. And, me growing up, those were the things that happened. Things got swept under the rug. Oh, well, you know how such and such is. No, I don't know. With my kids, I don't know how nobody is. I don't care how long they've been doing it.
It stops here.
We're going to see about it. I'm going to see about my kids. Right. So, yeah, I think as parents, we got to step up. We can't just let these children, do and say anything that they want to do. I mean, take these devices sometime. I mean, check and see what's going on the phone. There was a time one of the Cole kids had a Pornhub on their phone, and their phone got taken away, but then they logged in on my phone. What? So we got one of those dumb criminals that happened on our watch. And so I'm like, White Girl Wednesday? What's this? So us here, we got to step up. We can't just sweep, oh, he's just a boy or she's just a girl. That's just what they do. No. We got to change the narrative and some of these little nuances. Even with my little grandbaby, everybody's like, oh, he's so handsome. He's going to be a heartbreaker. No, he's not. He's going to be respectable. He's going to be, let's start it early instead of saying these little things that we think are quote unquote cute and that we've been, fed. No, ain't none of that happening. My baby going to be an engineer. He going to be doing all kind of good stuff.
And just to piggyback on that, it's also important. I'm talking to the younger generation who are just having kids. As you change diapers and the kid becomes aware, can talk and speak, you tell them, this is your private part. So anybody touch you and you feel uncomfortable, come to mommy and daddy. There's nothing that anyone can do to you that mommy and daddy will not handle. So you begin to teach them their personal space. Because what happens is, especially with girls that grow up with brothers, they wrestle and tussle and fight and play. So now you out in the real world and you tussling and playing with a boy, and the boy's got something else on his mind. So he starts wrestling and he got you in a position where you're uncomfortable, but I've been doing this with my brother so much that I don't know what's coming next. It's just uncomfortable. Maybe he's wrestling a little too hard. We have to teach him how to say, no, this is my personal space. No, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to do this anymore. We have to teach him how to do that.
And use actual terms, vagina, penis, breast.
Right.
Because he touched me on my private. There's way too much to be read into that or whatever.
Yeah, that's very important. I had a conversation with a sex therapist about that, and she stressed that what Tony said, teach your children the proper terms for their private parts, because predators, sometimes they use these code words, and when your child comes and say, he touched me in my pocketbook, they're like, okay, your purse? What are you talking about? And then they brush it off. But if she comes and say he touched me in my vagina, you know exactly what they're talking about.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
A couple of points. So what we're just talking about right now, what I think is important for all kids, male or female, is the way that we go about, and it's going to touch on a couple of points that a couple people made, is to teach them both what I would call defense and offense. Meaning, offense meaning how you engage the other party, and defense, how you protect yourself from the other party if there's a situation. And I pulled up a stat, right? It says 1 in 5 women have experienced completed or attempted rape during their lifetime. 1 in 5. That's insane. And the other point I wanted to make, we talked about on this show in several different perspectives about desensitizing, being desensitized. We talked about that with porn. We talked about that with music. And we even talk about that when we talk about this whole culture of, you know, your boys telling you or your uncles telling you need to get as many as you can get, to what Gunter Man was talking about earlier, right? But the other word that goes adjacent to that, and someone might have said it earlier, is dehumanize, right? If we dehumanize, and I'm just talking about man to woman, it can probably go both ways to a certain extent, but if we dehumanize women, by whatever way we're desensitized, that means that opens up the area for you to lack compassion, empathy, caring, and it makes things like rape something that you don't even really think about, because you're looking at something that's not even human. You're looking at someone that you can't even empathize with the cries or the screams, because they're not human. You listen to the music, they're not human, right? If I'm out here for what Rick was saying earlier, if I'm slaying everything in sight, how the hell am I going to be a boyfriend if I'm dehumanizing the thing that I'm supposed to marry one day? How do you do that? How do you show up as a partner in a relationship if you see every woman as subhuman? And what I say on a lot of times on a lot of these shows is, we first have to change the way that we talk about each other and see each other from when we're toddlers. So when you see a woman as being valuable, when someone says they're not, it's like offensive to you. Like, excuse me? That's not how I see them. And if this is trained exponentially, the person that's going against the grain looks crazy, because you've been taught that from a kid. And the people who don't have the benefit of having parents to teach them in this way, when you go in a group of people, you still look like the oddball. How did y'all what? Oh, okay, let me go ahead and change how I'm moving, because look at them. That's what happens. And I wanted to express that point because, to a certain extent, I can't speak for everybody up here, but gentlemen, we know when we grew up, you call it what you want to, they didn't have value. They didn't have value, and we didn't value them, and we knocked them down. We talked to them, we lied to them, we did whatever we had to do because they didn't have value, and then you just kept going. And then, ta-da, I'm a boyfriend. Guess what happens when you're doing that and you end up becoming a boyfriend or a husband or whatever? Who trained you to know how to stop? It's still in you. So then you get into these situations where you're a husband or a boyfriend and you just can't stop. You can't stop the porn. You can't stop the cheating. You can't stop the momentum that you had prior to this. And now you have all of these women who we talking about, rape culture. Who knows what happens behind those doors when you have someone who has not been trained to stop? And who do you tell as a wife that I've been raped? Because I remember years ago, and I'm gonna land my plane. I remember years ago, I remember having, we'll say, a friend whose mom said that her husband raped her. And I remember not understanding how that could be a thing back then. I was like, how? How is that? Like, I think I was in my 20s and I was like, how could a husband rape a wife? I remember feeling that way. So if I'm just an outside party feeling like that, the husband definitely felt like that. And anyone adjacent to that didn't make it a safe place for her to even say that. So I'm gonna land there.
Man, you must not have grew up in the time when they had that movie out, Burning Bed with Farrah Fawcett.
Oh, I love that movie.
But first off, Tony Massey, I'm gonna get you back, man. I ain't gonna forget that, man. So, but to loop back to something Erica said earlier when we were talking about, the laws and things like that. When the burden of proof, why it's so hard to get a prosecution or to get somebody accused that make them guilty of rape is because the laws are written to protect power, and rape it's a symptom of a power complex. Like we talk about dehumanizing, but when you recognize that you don't have a right to something, whether it's a person or a thing, like I'm not going to go over to Derek's car and open up his car because it's not my car. But if I feel like I have a right to something that doesn't belong to me, then that's an emphasis of power. And so when we talk about that, like we think about that monster, Brock Turner, they had plenty of evidence, eyewitness testimony that he did what he did. But the power structures that be said that young man has a bright future, so we don't want to give him an extended sentence. And he does less than 3 months in jail after he's found guilty of raping somebody. And so we've got to understand that we live in a society that wields power in that way. When we talk about laws, they'll wield a law to make sure that power structures are maintained. So if somebody's getting unruly or they're carrying a gun somewhere where they don't want you to carry a gun or all this, they'll come in swiftly and they'll take care of that. But when we talk about rape, people in power kind of live in like a rape culture with that, even without the sexual connotation to it. They live in a rape culture mind state. And so whenever there's something that might disturb that power play, they shun it or they push it away. And so we've got to understand the bigger power. We got to understand that, when we talk about rape, and we said a little bit last week, it's not that somebody's out here that they're just, their sexual vibe is just so strong that they got to get it. A lot of times it's power. I want to exert my power over somebody else. I can do this, so I am going to do this. And when we get to that, a lot of the sexual deviance is symptomatic of what the true problem is that somebody believes that they have the power, the right, and the ability to go and take something from somebody else that doesn't belong to them. And so, when we talk about our personal responsibility, how can a woman, it destroys our communities and because it's a culture. So it destroys how we move, because how can a woman feel like she can self-actualize in a culture where she's first not safe, and then she's not able to express or communicate herself. So then she's not able to evolve in the highest self. And so we're all hurt by the fact that people's voices are being quieted, that people's autonomy is being disturbed, destroyed, crushed, all of that. So it's a power play that we got to really look at. Like when we raising our kids, if they know something ain't theirs, you don't touch something that ain't yours. You don't violate somebody who does. Like, there's a term, and I'll shut up after this because I'm just going all over the place. There's a term, sonder. And sonder is when you realize that everybody else in the world may be experiencing something similar to you, but they're not experiencing it the exact same way that you're experiencing it. And when we can look at other people and realize that they're not experiencing this, I'm sitting with a young lady and I'm like, I'm feeling the vibe. So if I'm feeling the vibe, she must be feeling the vibe. Not true. So the best thing to do is, are you feeling the same vibe I'm feeling? It's that simple.
Yep. See, John, I needed you. You threw me the ball. I'm about to catch it.
Bottom of the ninth, fourth quarter.
What you been waiting on?
Just late in the second half.
He was loading the guns. He
I
was
got a
loading
kid
the
over here
guns.
that's been running around crazy, so I've been trying to stay quiet.
That leads me to my point of what you said. There is power in numbers, and that's why rape culture is so prevalent, because the numbers are not there to support the victims. And this was one of my points I wrote down, and I'm calling out women in our community because we don't even stand behind the women who are victimized. We a lot of times side with the men because we don't want, they call there's a term that they call pick-me's. I hate that term, but it's kind of accurate when you will side with a man who has violated a woman because you want to stay in the good graces of men. And I think more women need to come together and support these women, because if it ever becomes you and you're alone in that situation, how would you feel?
Right.
I'm calling out women because I saw so many women standing up for R. Kelly and bashing these women who were accusing him and calling them all kinds of names coming from their character and saying they will always ride or die for this man. But if I ask you, would you drop your daughter off at his house? You would say, hell no.
Right. Right.
And that's my point with women. So we have to do better. The men have to hold men accountable, but we have to hold women accountable.
I think what's really important and I thank John for bringing it up, the power structure. Women weren't allowed to buy houses by themselves until the mid-70s. That's 30 years ago. They couldn't buy houses by themselves. They had to have a man's name on the deed for them to buy a house. So what are you saying to them? You're not worthy of having property. You're not worthy of doing certain things. So that power structure, again, how John said it so eloquently, just keeps moving on, and people just don't really realize what's out there, what's actually happening. And John, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because it is a power thing. Rape, when you look it up in a clinical definition, it's always about the power, how much power I can have over somebody.
And we also need to, speaking to the idea of rapes going unreported, we need to redefine and reimagine the rapist. We need to abandon and completely jettison the idea that a rapist is the guy in the trench coat and, the predator looking scary dude. The rapist is, the R. Kellys of the world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, the guys that you don't expect, the guy that you went on a date with, and Tony Watts, I'm not going to lie to you, brother. I was biting my tongue because as much as I agree with you, that we all have to have a sense of personal responsibility and not put ourselves in harm's way. It makes my skin crawl that we have to teach women to trust their own, discernment, their own gut. I've always had an issue with the idea that, what was she wearing or what was she doing? I'm guilty of making the joke of when Mike Tyson was accused of rape, and I don't know if it really happened or not, but someone made the joke that he invited the girl to his room to play Scrabble. And I made the joke, Mike Tyson can't spell Scrabble. She knew what was going on. And that type of, that's rape culture, though. This idea that, you need to protect yourself from predators as opposed to don't be a predator. We spend so much time teaching women how to protect themselves from men. We don't spend enough time teaching men to not be predators. Don't rape, right? Right. I mean, it incenses me that we're teaching young girls, here's what you need to do to not get raped. But yet we don't teach boys, don't rape. And John, you made a great point. The idea that you don't belong to me. My wife, she carries my name. She does not belong to me. She should feel safe in her person. She should feel safe in her body and not feel like she doing it. Today she went for a walk, and I won't lie to you, I felt her vulnerability and got up off the couch and joined her, because, and it's not that I'm overprotecting. Well, maybe I am. I am. I ain't gonna lie. But if the idea that somebody would see her, and it's the stories that I hear, like, I mean, there was a story not too long ago here in Atlanta. A guy tried to approach a young woman with her boyfriend and ended up shooting both of them because she said no. Yep. Right. And so we need to teach our young men. She does not belong to you. I don't care how much money you spent. I don't care what restaurant you took her to. I don't care what you did. She does not owe you anything. And here's the irony of all of this. These are the same men who accuse women of being gold diggers, but yet you equate money and sex. I don't get it.
Mind blowing.
It's mind blowing. You talk about her. All she wants is my money. Well, obviously, all you want is her body, because you're creating, currency with her body because you spent XYZ. You should get no. If you take women out on dates to places that you enjoy, so you can spend time with her. You're not putting a down payment on anything. That's not how that works.
Right.
That's the rape culture.
Right.
So the rapist is not the guy with the sunglasses and the trench coat in the subway. The rapist is the guy that's texting you. The guy, the uncle that everybody knows about, but no one would talk about.
Your friend for 2 years.
Stop forcing our children to befriend and respect and spend time with people who have hurt them.
Right.
Yes.
It's okay for him not to come over anymore.
Yes. Yes.
And the last thing I'll say is, as Black men, we should be ashamed of ourselves. The very idea that a Black woman has to decide between holding a man accountable for his actions and turning a Black man over to an unfair justice system, we should never put anyone in that situation. And the disrespect that comes towards Black women, despite the fact that, you start asking, and Tony Watts, that's a dangerous question to ask. There's two questions that I learned are very dangerous to ask Black women. One, when was the first time you started receiving attention from men? How old were you?
Right. That's right. That's a question.
Man, you talk about disturbing.
Right.
Disturbing.
I did it on my podcast. Absolutely.
Yeah. And two, have you ever been the victim of sexual assault or rape?
Right.
It'll blow your mind.
Blow your mind.
Blow your mind.
When you speak about
real quick, Rick, I love you for speaking up. So I communicated that wrong. What I meant was men and women to be aware of their space. I wasn't saying that women should go in and they only have to be aware. Both people should be aware of their space. So I just want to clear that up. But I appreciate you bringing it up so we can get that on the table.
Done. Like I said, for part one was the idea of being, since Tony brought up the Black man, to be a part of the descendants of enslaved Africans treated as property. How do you feel comfortable treating a woman, a Black woman, as property? Because that's exactly what you're doing. How? Knowing the history of slavery and the scars that it made, and how you rebel even to this day against the police department, against laws, against all these situations, racial biases. How do you, coming from descendants of slaves, enslaved Africans, not slaves, enslaved Africans, how do you now see someone else like they used to see you and you're comfortable with it?
For education. Because, and I love the way you brought that last week. Us doing this to our women when they have gone through so many years of it through slavery, being raped, being mistreated, right? But you also got to look at what master uses the man for, the buck. I need you to breathe. So he was getting a hood over his head. He was even breathing with his mother. So there was no distinction of who he could be with. He was just out being a breeder. So over years and years and years and years of you just being the buck and no one turns around and says, hey, you know, this particular idea or this particular action is wrong, you continue to think, like we say, this young man is going to be this young man is going to be a heartbreaker. I'm a breeder. I'm the buck. So I keep doing that without being able to disconnect from that type of culture. So if I'm not teaching you to have awareness of the human being that you're dealing with, the imago Dei that you're dealing with, then I'm going to continue thinking that it's all about me. I'm the playboy. Like I said before, like if you look at the old James Bond's movies, all of those guys, they took it. They kissed the girl into submission, and she fought, and then she backed into it. So if that's the things that you're seeing, and then you got this other culture pushing it forward, unless somebody educates you, that's a no-no, then you'll think that's what's up.
I want to jump in real quick because I know we probably close to time, Erica. I want to reiterate a little bit of what Tony Massey was saying about changing the face of what we see, how rapists look and who they are. That's a lot of times, and I wanted to back up just a little bit about just saying, like I think Lolita in the comments was saying about how that stat that I pulled was it doesn't account for all of the unreported cases, and it's probably like ridiculously higher than that, which is even more disturbing. And the fact that people don't even feel comfortable bringing it up. But when we talk about what the rapist looks like, and in a lot of cases, we have rape accomplices too that aren't even men, right? We've heard these stories before too, where your girlfriend set you up to go over some dude's house because she wanted to sleep with somebody else, and then you got to go in the room, and we know it doesn't have to be this, like Tony said, this trench coat wearing person. And so the point I want to make is that gut, that intuition, this doesn't feel right. That thing got to be turned on all the time. Don't let that thing shut down because it's your girl, or if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. And trust it. Like, this is the one thing I tell women in life. Your intuition don't lie. I don't care what the situation is. Dudes can kind of gaslight you and then telling you, nah, you crazy. Nah, that intuition, that thing kicks in. Trust it. I don't care if it's your uncle, your girlfriend, your BFF, whatever. We've heard, and I know the gentlemen, I saw them shaking their heads. We know women who've got set up by other women to get raped or to get assaulted. And we've heard these stories, and you think because it's another woman that you're good and you're safe. Don't feel right still applies. Don't ever turn that alarm system off. So I'm gonna just leave that there.
Taking one for the team.
Right. Sad. So before we close out, I just had one more question I wanted to pose to you guys. I shared a video with Derek, I think last week, of the rapper Boosie on IG bragging how he put grown women on his 13-year-old son to have sex with him to make sure that he doesn't grow up gay. So the psychological damage that happens to young boys who are forced to be sexualized before they're even fully formed mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. What do you guys say about that? Because I feel like he's creating monsters who are going to grow up and become one of these rapists.
You're basing your manhood on sexuality in that scenario, and that's exactly what he's doing. I mean, I came up in an environment like that, you know, where your uncle's always pushing you. Hey, you need to go ahead and get you some. You need to go ahead and get your thing wet and all that kind of stuff, you know. And that was also, your manhood was based on how many scores you had, or, you know, just to make sure that you were a man, that you weren't going to go gay, as they would say. Oh, you ain't got a girlfriend right now? Something must be wrong with you. You know, you're telling your kids that at like 11, 12 years old, these little boys don't have any interest in it. But you're making them and forcing them to have interest in those things. What Boosie did is sick. because
Illegal.
and it's illegal as well, you know. But what he's doing basically is forcing these kids to face, you know, their own sexuality, and to be completely honest, probably corrupting, you know, their whole mindset of what women are actually there for, what a woman is actually supposed to be. The woman is not supposed to be a sexual tool just to get you off. But when he's hiring grown women to come in there and service these 13-year-olds, what is that little boy supposed to think about women going forward? So I mean, and it's a sick thing. And unfortunately, Boosie had money to pay these women to come do that. There's a lot of kids in the neighborhood I grew up in who, you know, they didn't have to pay money. There was a woman around the corner that just did that same thing for them and exploited them at a young age. And guess what? They'll have that same type of mentality, thinking that women are just there to be sexual objects. They're not real, tangible people. All they're there for is to hump on and get on with their life. You know, and that definitely contributes to rape culture.
When I was between 11 and 13, I was took into the junkyard in North Carolina, and my uncles put me in the back seat with a woman. I didn't understand what that was about. She had a shirt all the way cut down. Oh, touch this, touch that. Like, I didn't understand at the particular time when I did. I just knew I liked it. So that culture is definitely pushed. You know, that definitely happens with let's test him out. Let's see if he likes women. Let's see what he thought. D.L. Hughley was on an interview, and he talked about when he was 13, a 35-year-old woman that was his mother's friend sexually molested him, and he was like, he was crying like, I don't want to go, but because everybody else was like, boy, you better go do this, he continued to go. So it's a real thing.
Well,
It's
even
an indoctrination, basically. It's an indoctrination in the rape culture.
It really is. And I'm so glad you used the word exploitation or exploit, because that's what it is. It's sexual exploitation. But even with the teachers, you know, when we find out that a young, attractive 25-year-old teacher is having a sexual relationship with a 13, 14, 15-year-old boy, socially, we're not as shocked and we're not as offended by it if you turn the tables and it's a 25-year-old man having sex with a 13-year-old girl. And so what we're essentially doing here is we're defining manhood with sex, and then become shocked when a man defines himself through his sexual exploits.
Yep.
Because that's the definition that he was given. You know, I remember being a young boy, and I've told this story before, and being asked by a neighbor how many girlfriends you have. And I only liked one girl, Tiffany Castleberry. Shout out Tiffany, wherever you are. I only like one girl, and I was chastised for it. Now, I happened to be friends with a little girl who I rode the bus with and walked home with. She volunteered that I have 4 boyfriends. And he chastised her because she's not supposed to have any boyfriends. Now, I'm supposed to conquer and have all these girlfriends, but she can't have any. And that's and Gunter, man, you kind of you touched on this. That's the disconnect to me. As men, we are supposed to go out and have sex with all these women. But then at some point, we're supposed to find one that's chaste, find one that has complete. And this is why I have such an issue with this idea that at 44 years old, I should be dating younger women. Essentially, what you're saying is I need to date somebody who has not yet been exposed to all the men out there sowing their raw oats or whatever the case may be. But it is, at the end of the day, it's exploitation. And we are continuing the cycle by allowing these young men to be exposed to something that Tony Watts touched on. Is psychologically. I don't know what's happening right now. My body is right now. I'm still trying to discover why my body is reacting the way it does. Why all of a sudden my body is doing things that I can't explain and no one will explain to me. But yet, because my manhood is being defined through sex, something that I know nothing about, you're trying to prevent me from having a sexual experience with a man when I'm not ready to have a sexual experience, period. It's exploitation, it's abuse, and I think it should be punished.
And I want to say this real quick, literally real quick. Just to kind of slightly piggyback on what Tony was just saying, the non-movement in the direction of having sex, having a boyfriend, on whether it's a man or a woman, it's amazing. And funny, not funny, haha, but it's funny that me not being ready isn't good enough. My inaction means I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And if I'm not ready, let me chill until I am. And it's like, no, you better do this or else. And you get pressured even as a man. Like I remember, like I was a late bloomer. I remember my boy saying, yo, what are you doing? You're waiting too long. And I was like, I'm not ready. And they was like, so you better, what's wrong with you? And I was like, the mere fact that not being ready is a bad thing. And a lot of times that not being ready happens when you're like 12. You don't have a girlfriend. You don't have a boyfriend. What? I'm 12. I don't understand. Like, what? So I'm gonna just leave it there.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think about the games back in the day, at least in the Bronx, Run, Catch, and Kiss. And you guys were playing that. You got yourself in situations where you get to see, you kiss and maybe look at the girl's panties and all that stuff. That's at a young age.
We call it hide and go get it.
Right, that's what I was about to say. Hide and go get it.
Hide and go get it. All right, so we used to play run, catch, and kiss. And, you find yourself like super interested in that type of vibe, that energy at a real young age. This is little age. So when you get to 13, you're actually doing it. By the time you're 15, you're doing it on a regular. 15 years old, having sex with a number of different women. When you think about it now, you're like, that's insane.
Well, I wanna iterate in there that you guys are not the only one who get that peer pressure, because in high school I had girlfriends who were pressuring me to lose my virginity and what are you waiting for? And you're not a woman yet, and this, that, and the other. And so it was one of my cousins. I looked up to her, and I wanted to be like her. And when she started pressuring me into having sex, I felt like I was inadequate. And so when I finally did it, then I was like, you lied. Because it was nothing like you said it was going to be. It was not great. So yeah, the peer pressure comes from both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, peer pressure is a mug. I will tell you that much, because we always got pressure. We always felt that, like, oh, you're not doing it, you're not doing it. But then also the kudos you would get as a man when you did have that quote unquote conquest or whatever. I will say this, and I think I've mentioned this on this podcast before. I was one of those students that got, had a relationship with a 24-year-old teacher at the time when I was 16. And, when people found out about it, the guys, I was the coolest man on campus. They were, praising me and, oh my God, you did this. Not knowing how that psychologically just kind of turned my brain into something that it should not have been at that particular age. And I think that we as men need to, really start, talking to the point of, hey, look, it's okay to not be ready for sex. It's okay to keep your chastity. We when we think of chastity, we usually think of that in the feminine terms, and but to keep yourself whole, until you're ready to for that commitment of sex and what sex does bring about. Looking back on it, I'm like, okay, I didn't even realize that was rape that happened to me. I didn't realize at the time because I had people dapping me down for being taken advantage of.
Wow.
you know, and I think we need to really start expressing that thought to our kids and the people we mentor about, keeping yourself whole and, only permitting yourself to be, engaged in those things when you're ready for it as men.
Yes. Well, this was an awesome discussion. I'm glad we came back for part 2. I think we covered everything. I know there's still so much more that we could talk about for this discussion, and maybe at a later date we can come back and reconvene. But I appreciate all of you for coming back and adding such value to the discussion. We're gonna go around the room and have everybody close out, tell everybody where they can find you, connect with you, and then we will get out of here. So let's start with Mr. Quiet as a mouse tonight, John. John Singletary.
Y'all gonna leave me alone, man. They always giving me. Hey, you can find all of us though at realshoptalk.net. You can check out all of my content on www.thehelpmyselfpodcast.com. That'll take you to all my socials. You can buy copies of my book. Go and buy some copies, man. Christmas is coming up in a couple of months, so I need to buy gifts because my son is growing. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's been a pleasure, and I'm so glad to be connected with all of y'all. E-Class 100, she be dropping gems, so y'all need to follow her. Make sure you're checking her out too. So.
Thank you, John. All right, Mr. Gunter Man.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. This is amazing to me. I love it. I love being able to tell real, raw, and true stories about my past and being able to use it for some type of benefit and for the future. To encourage, to enlighten, to warn, to guide, to lead people to a better way of thinking. So you can find me at Instagram at Soapbox Stand Up and Speak. The Gunter Man Show is every Thursday night at 7:30. Every Thursday night, 7:30, The Gunter Man Show. Also, you can find me on Facebook at Rick Gunter Man Gunter. And that's it for now. And also, Shop Talk, Real Shop Talk. Just hit the link. You'll see all our bios at the bottom. You can link us right there. So Real Shop Talk is a place where you can go to find all our info.
Thank you, Gunter Man. All right, Mr. Tony A. Watts. I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Again, Erica, thank you for having us. This is a marvelous discussion. I think it's one that we should definitely start having across the board. I think any guy that's watching this, I think you should start calling your boys out, even though if it's going to be a point of contention. If they're snatching girls up in the club and, she's sloppy drunk and he's talking about, I'm going to get some anyway. Let's start having these discussions. Let's start holding each other accountable, because one of the things that we're having a problem with our women acting the way they act is they don't trust us. So if we can come to a point where we can stand in our power and allow them to trust us again, we can heal it. We can heal our communities. And I think that's very, very important. So Erica, again, I appreciate you allowing us to have this discussion. You can find me on Instagram at I am Tony A. Watts. I am Tony A. Watts. Later tonight, about 10:30, I'll be having a discussion with Sherelle Thomas. I think I set myself up for something I don't want to get into, but I've already committed to it. So tonight I'll be on her Instagram and we'll be having a conversation about I don't know what. So thank you again. Realtalk.net, realshoptalk.net, realshoptalk.net. All of our information is there. And please click on the YouTube page so we can get those numbers up. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Mr. Tony Massey cooks and speaks.
Yeah. So yeah, you can definitely find me, Tony Massey Cooks or Tony Massey Speaks. And of course, at the realshoptalk.net. And I'm always excited to be a part of this platform. Love being anywhere with my brothers because I know some truth is going to be spoken. And I think that's what we need more than anything. Our community needs truth. There's a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of people who have hidden agendas who are faking the funk. And all they're doing is lining their pockets, but they're not helping anything. At the end of the day, we need to have real conversations with real people who are going to hold us accountable. That's what's key. And so to partner up with dope discussions with Erica and Gator, people who I follow and I listen to your show, and I always see that same level of accountability and that same level of real content to allow our powers to combine, Wonder Twins activate, it's really dope to do, because I feel like even if it's just the same people listening, they get to hear something different. And just on that note, please, if you're listening to this broadcast right now, support everyone on here, especially dope the discussions with Erica and Gator. Follow them. Don't be a passive viewer. We do this thing because we're passionate about it, but it takes time, it takes energy, it takes money. And the one thing you can do is like, subscribe, and share, and make sure you're always in the house. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Derek Jones.
It's me with my new camera. So anyway, I'll say this. First of all, Derek Jones, relationship_gumbo on Instagram. Go to the Real Shop, the website that you see on the screen, www.realshoptalk.net. All of our profiles are there, and from there you can get all the other stuff that for myself and everybody else. Make sure tomorrow night at 8 p.m. After you go to the realshoptalk.net and follow the Facebook and subscribe and click the bell, because everybody's going to do that if you haven't. Tomorrow night, our topic is dating. Are you ready? Are you ready to date? We're gonna tackle that. So make sure you come with your comments and your questions and your notepads, because we all, every Monday our shows get better and better every week. So make sure you come and attach yourself to that and become a part of that Real Shop Talk family, because the comments and your guys' participation is what makes this thing thrive. We just here sharing our stories, our lives, our advice, and really tackling these things from a male perspective. And tonight, Erica, I thank you. I call Erica and Gator my friends. We chat and talk at least virtually almost every day. So I'm glad to be a part of this. And we're connected now. So we're all family. You're going to see us on each other's platforms for many, many, many times to come. So yeah, thank you for having us. And we'll be back. That's all I got.
Appreciate you so much. All right. And the man, the myth, the voice.
Hey, you know what? I gotta say this right quick. Okay, so Tony, Hennessy chicken pot pies, right?
Yes, sir.
I gotta make. Cause see, Erica already know I love to cook. Yeah. I love to get in that kitchen and I love to eat, if y'all can tell. So man, I am on that right now. Right after this show, I'm probably going out to go try to get that done.
You got to, man. And to be clear, I don't just put Hennessy and stuff just because there's a rhyme and reason behind the Hennessy in there. It does add a level of complexity to the sauce that the chicken is in. So yeah, let me know what you think, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Y'all, it was great having y'all on the show tonight. I mean, this discussion is something that, we had to bring back from the other one, because so many people reached out to each one of us and said, hey, you know what? This is something that I went through. There were people who said that they were triggered by this particular, topic. The fact that they were triggered means that this is something that we need to discuss. This is something that is, a relevant topic in our community. And the only way we're going to work through and find solutions is if we talk about it, if we have these discussions about it. So I appreciate y'all coming on here and appreciate the fact that, you guys are so forthcoming about yourselves, and all of that at the end of the day contributes to us finding solutions to help the community as a whole. So we definitely appreciate you guys coming on.
I couldn't have said it better. I love all of you guys. I feel like you're my brothers. We've created a network, a family. We're bringing back the village, as Tony Watts likes to say, and I love being a part of that. So I'm definitely going to be front and center tomorrow when y'all are talking about dating. That's one of my favorite topics. So I can't wait to hear what y'all going to be saying about that. But thank y'all again so much for coming back. And we are out. Thank you, everybody in the comments. You all made the show as great as it was tonight. I love when you come and you show up and you put great, comments in the show. You become part of the show. And I thank y'all so much. So we will see y'all again next Sunday right here. Same time, same place.
Peace out, everybody. We'll see y'all later. Hey, wait, y'all. We're supposed to be having a freestyle battle. Wait.
He ran.
Ugh.